Outcome 11.7, Lesson 6, Currency Conversions. Whether you travel to a country outside Canada or go shopping online, it's important to know the currency exchange rate. The exchange rate is a rate that specifies how much money is worth in terms of the other, so also known as the foreign exchange rate. So here's an example of what the exchange rate was on May 16th, 2014. At that time, 1 Canadian dollar was only equal to 92 cents for a US dollar. Another way of looking at that is to say that 1 US dollar was equal to 1.09 Canadian dollars. When you pay for a hotel or buy electronic equipment online, you can figure out the cost in Canadian dollars. So Ryan will be spending his summer holidays with relatives in Los Angeles, California. He has saved $550 Canadian. What is the value of this in US dollars? So we're going to use the conversion rate from the previous page. And so 1 Canadian dollar is going to be equal to $0.92 in US funds. Because if we look at our exchange rate, the US side is less, right? .92 is less than 1. That means that when we do our conversion, the $550 should be less once we change it into US funds. So after we do our conversion, we want our answer to be smaller than 550. So let's set up our ratio. With currency exchanges, the first ratio is that exchange rate. I know that 1 Canadian dollar is equal to .92 US dollars. Ryan has $550 Canadian, and we want to know how much is this in US money. We can multiply across the equal sign now that our proportion is set up. So 1 times n is n. On the other side, we are going to multiply .92 times 550. When we multiply that out, we end up with $506, and we're now in US funds. So 550 Canadian dollars on this day would have been worth 506 US dollars. Jane has returned home from a Disneyland trip. She has 215 US dollars left over that she wants to change back into Canadian dollars. How much does she have in Canadian dollars? So again, we need to decide on the exchange rate that we're using. So we're going to use the other one this time and say that 1 US dollar is equal to $1.09 Canadian. Because we're changing into Canadian dollars, our answer should be higher than the 215 that we started with. Let's check and see. The first ratio is the exchange rate. So 1 US dollar is equal to 1.09 Canadian. On the other side, we know that she has $215 US. That has to stay on the top because that's the way our first ratio was set up. And we want to know how much is that in Canadian. Multiplying across our equal sign, 1 times n is n. And multiplying the other way, 1.09 times 215. When we multiply that out, we end up with 243.35. So this means that $215 US was equal to $243.35 Canadian. Please try practice number 6.